Now here on BBC Two, as part of our school season, journalist Toby Young takes some tentative first steps towards starting his own.
I've often kind of failed in the past and made a kind of joke out of that, almost made a career out of being a professional failure. I got fired from Vanity Fair, you know, I wrote a play which was a colossal flop and so on and so forth. And, you know, up until now, that I've always managed to kind of make that work for me because it's really only my career that's at stake, so who really cares?
Journalist Toby Young's latest project is to set up his own state-funded secondary school in West London.
I think my worry about the local comprehensive and about many state schools is that they're not just taught the 3 R's, they're not just taught history and geography and science. They're also taught about internationalism and globalism and environmentalism and egalitarianism. You know, too many isms.
Already there's fierce opposition to Toby's school project.
I tell you what, Toby, it's not just a question about education, it is a class issue.
We've had 45 years of comprehensivisation. The British English class system is stronger than ever. It hasn't worked.
It's going to be tough. Has the man famous for his book, How to Lose Friends and Alienate People, got what it takes?
He's very stubborn and very tenacious. You know, he asked me to marry him about 4 times to keep saying no. Kept coming back.
It's almost overwhelming when I think about everything that needs to be done over the next few months. Priority number 1 is to nail down a site. You're not going to get to first base without a site.
The problem with this site is it's a bit too small, and it's got a power station right here. Danger of death. I'm not sure how well that will go down with our prospective parents. Live conductors.
But not everyone thinks Toby should be allowed to use taxpayers' money to create his own school.
At the end of the day, Toby is still somebody who hankers after the benefits of an education at Eton or Millfield but can't afford to pay for it, and therefore he wants to grab money off the state and to grab money which should be going into the general pot.
For the first time in my life, I think, I'm engaged in a project that I passionately don't want to fail. I mean, there's a huge amount at stake. I mean, if I fail, if I can't do this, if this group can't do this, given the advantages we enjoy, I think other people thinking about doing this will conclude, well, it just can't be done. So I really want to succeed, more than anything else I've ever tried before, I think.
What's that? Can you open the car by yourself?
Toby and his wife Caroline live in Acton, West London. They have 4 children, all under the age of 7. The 2 eldest children go to a local state primary school where Caroline works as a volunteer. It's 4 years until it's time for their eldest child to go to secondary school, but like all anxious parents, they're planning ahead. One thing's for sure, if Toby gets his way, the local comprehensive Acton High won't be his first choice.
It's the ethos and the curriculum of Acton High School that I don't particularly like.
Schools are now required to indoctrinate children with these kind of socially positive values to turn them into model citizens. And I don't like the idea of my children going through that sausage factory.
Acton High is a thriving local school, and other middle-class parents seem pretty happy to send their children there, like Martin and Rachel.
I think the core thing is the importance of schools as a sort of linchpin of a community, because I think we have so few of those in modern society. There are very few things in society today that are non-exclusive, but that bring people together in one place, and schools are one of the few, I think.
In Freddie's school. Oh, yeah. Oh, look. Charlie's still got his pyjama tops on. Shh, don't tell anyone.
If Toby's children won't be going to Acton High, that leaves moving house, a faith school, or going private.
I guess it was discovering that unless I was prepared to become a born-again Christian or move to within the catchment area of one of the remaining grammar schools, or remortgage my house so I could afford to send my children to a school like Latin or upper school, you know, I didn't have access to the kind of education I'd like for my children.
Traffic light. Traffic light.
Faced with closed doors in every direction, Toby and Caroline have come up with a controversial plan.
The idea is to set up a really good, high-performing academic secondary school which is accessible to all, regardless of wealth, ability or faith. We want to have very high expectations of all the children and expect them to do, you know, at least 8 GCSEs and to pass 8 GCSEs.
Thanks, Lucy.
Toby wants to sidestep the national curriculum and make the classics central to the ethos of his school.
We want Latin to be compulsory for the first 3 years, and if children give up Latin, we'll insist that they do a modern foreign language and classical civilization in the place of Latin.
Toby's done his homework. Academy schools, which are state-funded but which operate outside local authority control, were introduced by Labour in 2000. Toby wants to create an academy, but set up by parents, not a company or a charity, a so-called free school.
He's perhaps quite a charismatic figure who radiates a lot of energy and a lot of drive, and people think, oh, God, I'll let Toby do it. And,
where's the,
you know, good luck
where's
to
the
the guy.
accountability in that? You know,
Well,
who would you
exactly,
rather have
but-
setting up your school? Your local council, who you at least elect. I mean, they may not be brilliant, and you may not have that much control over what they do, but at least you do get a chance to elect them. Or Toby Young, who's just a self-appointed person over whom actually you've got no control. It's his idea, and if you don't like his idea, that's tough, because that's my ethos and that's my school, and I've set it up.
Daggers are already out for Toby at the local branch of the National Union of Teachers.
I regard Toby Young as a pirate. He's somebody who is trying to raid the public purse to set up a system which is a direct attack on the heart of the comprehensive education ideal.
Toby insists that he supports the ideal of comprehensive education, but he doesn't feel that the state is delivering it.
We're saying the state has let us down, and we're not willing to just stand by and wait for the state to do a better job. We'll put up with what we've got. You're now fired. We're going to do this, and we're going to do it better than you.
But you find that attractive, but that's what some people will find very deeply unattractive.
They think, wait a minute, a group of private individuals who know sweet FA about education want some taxpayers' money to set up a school? I don't think so.
Toby may have a reputation for alienating people, but he's managed to persuade a group of local residents to join his scheme. Among them, Cosmo Lush, a digital media executive, Stefan Boyanovsky, an economist, Charlie Ben Nathan, a teacher, and Susie Hobart, a business consultant.
One of my great reasons behind this is that I see most people that I know going into the private sector, into, you know, going to church every week and desperately trying to get in, or moving out of London. And that seems a great shame.
It's now February 2010. The Labour government is in power and the economy is in freefall. The group wants the school, provisionally called the West London Free School, to be open by September 2011. This means getting rubber stamped in September this year. It's ambitious, very ambitious. They'll need a building, a funding agreement, a management plan, a viable curriculum, an admissions policy, and most important of all, a clear vision.
got a pretty clear idea in my head, I think, of what I want the school to be like, but I haven't discussed it with the others yet, just in case they have very different ideas. I mean, in a sense, I've been postponing this discussion unless we all fall out and end up fighting like cats in a sack, because we all have a completely different idea of what the school is supposed to be. But I hope we don't. I hope we end up at the end of this with a shared vision.
So it's back to school for Toby and his team. They've invited some educational consultants to help them identify the school's core values.
To provide the opportunity for a top-quality education and ultimately a life of fulfilment to all young people.
A classical liberal education that's available to all, regardless of wealth or ability.
And to increase social mobility.
A school where pupils are allowed, encouraged, trained to think for themselves, not merely trained to jump exam hurdles.
It encourages high achievement in different areas, constructive competitiveness.
With your classical liberal curriculum, you may have to widen that curriculum to keep the engagement of the youngsters who are not supported in their communities and not supported at home.
I'm sure Toby will say that that is wishy-washy sort of rubbish that everyone wants.
We can sort him out.
It was as though there was a kind of need for our school to turn out good little citizens who made a useful contribution to society. I mean, I wouldn't care if our school turned out a Lenin, you know, or a Trotsky. That'd be fantastic, and their object would be to completely dismantle and destroy our society. You know, if they can think for themselves and they can make the case, then all power to them.
The committee agrees on one thing. They want their school to be open to all. This means they'll need to cater to some of the borough's toughest kids. So they're paying a visit to a nearby school for children struggling with mainstream education to road test some of their ideas.
Hi. I'm Toby. Good to meet you.
Latin, which Toby never studied himself, could be a hard sell.
I'm going to leave you in the hands of Toby.
One of the things we want to do at our school is have all the children from 11 to 14 up to the end of year 9 doing Latin. What do you think about that?
Good luck with that, boy. You never catch me in a Latin class.
And why do you say we never catch you in a Latin class?
Because I feel it's a waste of my time. Yeah, we can appreciate the fact that some of the English language has like been progressed from Latin, but we don't need to learn it.
If you could master the basics of Latin, then you could master any subject, not just languages, but any subject. If it taught you how to think logically and it trained your mind.
I would like to know how exactly that happens. It's just the language.
Well, it's because the way it's taught and the way the language is constructed, it teaches you to think logically as well as intuitively, just generally, not just about Latin, but about all subjects. And after that, you have a finely trained mind, and the world is your oyster. You can do anything.
Just by speaking Latin.
Just by having learnt Latin.
You don't need no yuppie Latin teacher telling you this, that, and the other.
What do you think that should be? Did you say yuppie?
Yuppie, yeah. All people that know Latin are like, Latin. So, yeah. You haven't personally experienced the joys of Latin because you don't know it. So therefore, you're just like, you know, saying stuff that you've just heard.
So you're not sold on Latin at all?
No.
That's pretty clear.
I definitely don't remember any clear.
Toby's own education followed a checkered path.
I think there might be down here.
He attended a comprehensive in Devon before coming here to William Ellis in North London, then a grammar school.
Was that a policeman? Is that a member of staff?
That is.
You hire police now to get the children to come in at break time.
I don't know, but he's quite in.
Toby believes the comprehensive let him down.
I did woodwork and metalwork.
Not that you'd know it from his DIY skills.
I did art, metalwork, woodwork. I was like, you know, I was what middle-class parents euphemistically call not academically bright, i.e. thick as a plank. That was how I was thought of. I think I was allowed to give up biology and chemistry, and then he sat physics, in which I got a D. And that in itself is shocking. I shouldn't have been allowed to give up It was only when I came here and was really pushed that I was then able to do well.
And what happened with your A-levels here then? What did you study?
I did politics, English and history, and well, I didn't do spectacularly. I got 2 B's and a C. But you know, that was quite a.
But you did get a first off. I feel I had.
Well, I did get into Oxford from William Ellis, which I certainly wouldn't have been able to do had I stayed at the school I was at.
Acton, where Toby lives, is part of the London borough of Ealing. It's not just home to the well-heeled middle classes, but supports a vivid multicultural population. For months, Toby has been on a single-minded mission, scouring these streets in search of a site for his school. But the local estate agent seemed to have little understanding of his requirements.
It looks like that's the extent of the outside space, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Room for 6 cars, not 600 children.
It's now March and Toby can't afford to be too choosy about his site. He's even considering an office block on a busy A road.
So this is the Talk building. We're now crossing the A40, and it's right here. You see that big? It's behind that big, what looks like an ad, but is in fact a window. And it's owned by Carphone Warehouse, and Carphone Warehouse's HQ is opposite. It's not the most idyllic location for a school. It's not exactly Hogwarts.
Toby's not convinced about the Talk site. Meantime, his dream building has finally turned up.
That's what estate agents say to you. You'll love this place. It's got the wow factor, and they're usually talking. But this place has got the wow factor. I mean, look at the facade. As you can see, the colonnades. And it's got a huge playground. It's got a sports hall. It's got a gymnasium.
Owned by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, this building used to house the King Fahd Academy School for Girls. It's now invitingly empty.
When I was shown around this building, that's when I really believed for the first time that this could actually happen. It kind of felt like a sign, you know, it's like there is a perfect site, a secondary school sitting empty, only 3 miles from your house, and it's exactly the right size. This is us here.
Yeah. The King Fahd building has whetted Toby and Caroline's appetite for success.
Little Ealing building.
But its location on Little Ealing Lane, several miles from their house, opens up a terrifying possibility.
It's about 3 miles away instead of a mile away. The danger we want to avoid is putting all our eggs in this basket, only to discover that we don't live close enough to the school to get our own children in. And I still haven't mastered exactly how much flexibility we'll have when it comes to our admissions policy. It's so fiendishly complicated.
Yeah. It's a bit of a bombshell, but could there be a way out?
One of the advantages of being an academy is that you do have there is a certain amount of flexibility when it comes to drawing up your catchment area. But if we were to create a catchment area that looked like this,
yeah,
I think it might be quite obvious that we'd.
Done that to the map.
I don't think that would wash because people would realise that we'd only done it in order to include ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Confident that they'll find their way around the tricky question of admissions, Toby sets his heart on the King Fahd Academy. He puts in a call to the Saudi embassy. Meanwhile, Toby has another tussle on his hands. Bullish he may be, but he hasn't yet convinced Ealing Council that they need his school, and, under current Labour government rules, the initial application has to be submitted by them.
You know, I've met numerous times now with the same official, and his response is, well, that's all very well, but we don't need a new academy in Ealing. We're expanding some of our existing schools, and we're building a new school in Greenford. And when that's been done, there won't be any need for any additional places. And if you create a school, that's going to take children away from our existing schools and jeopardise their long-term well-being. So, you know, no thank you.
Toby disputes that his school would create surplus places, and he's reached a stalemate with the council. But an election is on the horizon, and free schools are an essential plank of the Tories' education strategy. Tonight he'll be going head-to-head with Fiona Miller, a key campaigner for state comprehensive schools.
Our aim is to set up what we're calling a comprehensive grammar. Which means we want rigorous setting, we want low tolerance of disruptive behaviour, we're going to have very high expectations, we want an old-fashioned model of pastoral care, a competitive atmosphere, but we want it to be available to all children, regardless of ability.
Fiona Miller, it sounds like, you know, a lot of parents' dream school.
I don't know the school that doesn't want high standards and high standards of behaviour and high expectations, all the things that Toby said, and most schools are trying very hard to do that. The Conservatives I haven't just spoken to, they're going to give priority to the parents who start up the school. So it's very easy to see how that would quickly become a little self-selecting oasis within its own community.
I mean, of course, the kind of school we're trying to set up will appeal to middle-class parents, and the majority of people on my steering committee are middle class. But I think if you allow parents to set up schools which middle-class parents feel comfortable with, that will mean fewer middle-class parents opting out entirely. Fewer middle-class parents.
Education is key territory for all parties. Toby is keen to make his presence felt at a conference organised by the fast-growing Free Schools movement.
How are you? Good. Are you someone trying to set up a school?
Yes.
Whereabouts are you from?
I'm from Hackney and Islington.
Okay, right.
So we're not in competition with you.
No, good. Well, I hope we can compare notes, and please, after you. Hi, are you the Leslie Sermon, the famous Leslie Sermon from Kirklees?
That's right.
Like Toby, Leslie Sermon's group's plans for a free school in Yorkshire have been stymied by the local council.
At the moment, we've got a shortfall of places in our area, so we've got to get a school.
Right.
And on the doorstep instead of 5 miles away.
Right.
It's a very traditional school.
Right.
Yeah, one with core values, not huge curriculum, getting back to the basics.
One thing that's really surprised me about all this is you suddenly run into this kind of implacable, kind of passionate opposition, as though, you know, you're the devil incarnate. I don't know if you had that in Kirklees.
We had that at the very beginning.
Right.
But it's now, as time's gone on now, we've realised, well, hang on, we can set up a school, and everyone's helping us now. Because everyone's saying, yeah, it's fantastic. Well, why haven't you got your school? Of course you should have your school.
And have you got a building?
We've got a fantastic site.
If the Tories get into power, they'll enable parents to apply directly to government to create an academy without having to get the support of their local council.
We want to do the same. We want to say that for new entrants to teaching...
Guest speaker at today's event is Michael Gove, the Tory Shadow Minister for Education.
That we need change. For many parents who felt frustrated because they have not had access to the sorts of education that they want for their children, I think you can be sure, whatever happens after the general election, that the momentum for reform will not slacken.
Having failed to get the backing of Ealing Council for their plan, it's becoming ever more important for Toby's group that the Tories win at the upcoming general election.
The general election campaign is officially underway. The nation will go to the polls on the 6th of May.
The chips are down. But the looming election is revealing unexpected fault lines in the group's politics.
I have never voted Conservative in my life, and it's one of the sort of measures by which my daughters will monitor my mental deterioration. Seriously.
It hasn't changed my vote at all. I'd have voted Conservative anyway. Right. Desperate to get rid of this government. I can't stand it, so...
Are you asking if it's going to affect my vote?
Well,
yes. Is no one else very much say?
I've said it is.
Yeah. I would not normally vote Conservative, but I will vote Conservative because of this.
Too.
Yeah.
For the first time.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a member of the Conservative Party, and I've voted for all 3 different bodies, but I will definitely vote Conservative this time as well because
Do
of
you
this.
think it's going to make a real difference to me, to our family?
As the election campaign hots up, Toby relishes the chance to take on his opposition in a debate about free schools in West London.
Toby is one of these people, of which, you know, some people are, who actually enjoys fear. And that goes sort of across the board in life, doesn't it? I mean, you actually enjoy that feeling of being scared, which I cannot stand. I just hate it, but you quite like it.
I quite like the adrenaline.
Yeah, you like it, kind of get all sweaty and angry and be like a little short angry man. And I actually love it. I find it, you know, makes me remember why I love you, babe.
You need constantly reminding.
Yeah, I do. I really do. You'll probably be rubbish now.
I know.
Go off you.
It may be a local debate, but the opposition have got out one of their big guns. The Deputy General Secretary of the NUT, Kevin Courtney.
What I understand you are proposing is a comprehensive grammar school. As like saying you're in favour of vegetarian butchers. Comprehensive and grammar are the opposites of one another. I think it's like saying selection for all, and you can't have selection for all. It doesn't make any sense. What we'd like Toby to do is send his children to a local authority school and support it. It strikes us that there are problems associated with the market mechanism, but your solution seems to be to take the market mechanism to a whole new level of introducing whole new categories of schools with some degree of selection in them. And these things are the reverse of what we need in our country.
Comprehensive education has been an enormous success. And I tell you what, Toby, it's not just a question about education, it is a class issue. Working class people benefit when there's collective provision. They don't benefit when they're thrown onto the free market. The people who benefit when there's a free market are the people with the wealth and the resources and the knowledge.
I think we all want less educational apartheid. We all want less class division in our education system. And what I'm proposing to do, what the West London Free School will do, is create a school that will tear away the wall that currently exists between the private sector and the public sector. If we can dismantle that wall, if we can create schools that middle-class families are completely comfortable about sending their children to, but which don't just educate middle-class children, but are accessible to all the children in the area, then I think we're achieving the outcome that we all want.
Toby finds he's stumbled upon that very British bugbear, class.
It was quite funny when it almost threatened to kind of explode
I
into
know.
open class warfare.
I know.
I hadn't expected
I don't want to make this about class, but this is all about class, is what he said.
That was, yeah.
Didn't he?
Yeah.
Which is fair enough, and it is a lot to do with class. And that doesn't matter. Everyone's so kind of nervous about mentioning.
Yeah, no, it was the £600 gorilla in the room.
Yeah.
Raised its ugly head.
Yeah.
The day has finally come, and every vote counts. Without the Tories in power, Toby's school doesn't stand a chance. Trouble is, Toby's left the polling cards at home.
You should bring them, and then I don't have any idea.
I intended to bring them. Well, you better run back. Shall I run back and get them? I haven't got my house key.
Neither have I. Go on then. You're going to be quicker. I don't have either, but Claire's there. It's just like going somewhere. Going anywhere. You don't even have to be going very far. You don't have to be going on holiday. Literally even going around the corner with Toby. It all comes out.
After they finally managed to vote, it's business as usual for Caroline.
You ready for piano? Okay.
before heading off to an election party at County Hall.
I don't know, I've never been to an election party before. It's obviously right up his street. There's, you know, media, politics and party all wrapped up into one happy event.
Bit too boring. The pink one a bit too Tory triumphalist, in case they win. Don't want to be seen glugging champagne in a pink tie. This one's fairly neutral as to whatever the result might be. It's a fairly sober, I'll just get on with the job sort of time.
More nervous than he has been about anything else, like the birth of our children. I don't really get nervous about things like this. I just think what will be, and then you deal with it. You know, you've got absolutely no control at all.
Hi, so Toby Young and Caroline Bondi. Are we the first here?
Second.
Second, oh my God. We got 4 children under 7. They usually get up at about 5 a.m, so my poor wife wanted to come early so she can leave early.
At 10 o'clock, the exit polls come in.
Up and down the country, 17,000 people have been questioned. This is their verdict. And there you have it. It is an extraordinary outcome. This is our exit poll prediction.
Oh my God.
It's the morning after, and to the horror of the Young household, the Tories have not won an overall majority, and Gordon Brown, for the time being, is still in power.
You've suddenly become fascinated by politics, haven't you?
I know.
You never had been before.
Never, no. But I think that's true of loads of people. I mean, I said, it's like, listen, it's like the, you know, series 1 of Big Brother.
This is a time of high political drama and national crisis. Take it seriously, everybody. I feel really angry about this. I mean,
Voting clearly makes absolutely no difference.
Come on, that's it now. Where's Gordon Brown? Where is Gordon Brown? He's still in Downing Street, but not for much longer.
It's a relief when David Cameron is finally sworn in as PM. But the waiting's still not over. There are rumours that Conservative Michael Gove, the champion of free schools, won't get the job of Education Secretary. It might be a Liberal Democrat who's sceptical about free schools. It could be a disaster for their plan.
Hello? Well, on the BBC News website, 1:37, New School Secretary Michael Gove has just walked into his department, where he is... massive, they're all cheering.
Very excited.
Very excited.
We can all breathe, I think.
It's actually relieved more than excited.
No,
I mean, it was
really exciting. Maybe I was feeling pessimistic, but I didn't think that yesterday. I was feeling much more despondent about it.
I don't think we can relax too much, though, because I think, you know, a lot of what they end up doing, I think we can help shape by being on the ball and quick-witted and quick in our response. So I think we've got to get onto them pretty sharpish and engage with them.
With Michael Gove safely at the Department for Education, Toby can now bypass the council and go straight to government to get his school green-lit. Toby is now more driven than ever. He wants the West London Free School to be in the vanguard of the free school movement.
But one of the worrying things I heard today was that there are 720 groups that are going to apply to set up free schools. So, you know, there's actually much more competition than I imagined. Well, I've sort of always thought that we're further along than anyone else, but I could easily be wrong.
Today, the application forms become available online. Toby wants to get ahead of the game by being first in with his application, so he creates his own deadline of 6 p.m.
How much do you think we've lost? I don't know, cause I have saved your one with the bits in it. That's my one I haven't, so... I mean, I don't know if I've saved it or not. Yeah, I saved your changes. But nothing's happening, babe. We need to do it by 6 o'clock. That's 4 minutes' time. It's definitely gone funny. I'm going to have to force quit, which is to pray that it's... Moment of high anxiety here, Charlie.
Think Daddy's terribly interested right now. What did you want to tell Daddy? Want to tell him something?
Oh, recovered. That's quite a good sign. September 2011. Okay, well, it's all there. Okay, cool.
I wonder if we are the first.
Okay, babe.
Done.
It's going. 18:06. Missed the deadline by 6 minutes. It's gone.
Oh, it's gone. I heard it go.
Gone, yeah.
If you don't go get some bath now, sorry.
Bring him up Monday morning. Check it.
No, it says on the application form, expect you are guaranteed a response within 2 weeks.
Within 2 weeks.
As his dream inches nearer, Toby has decided to visit a thriving secondary school to pick up some tips. Quinton Kynaston is an award-winning comprehensive in North London. It's run by head teacher Joe Shooter.
Lovely area to live in, St John's Wood. Not a single local resident will send their kids here. They all get bussed out to the independent sector. And the kids are coming into this school, sort of walking through what is the most wonderful place to live. You know, those huge, beautiful white Georgian houses with the magnolia and the wisteria and the Bentleys parked outside. And our kids are walking through from the sort of tower blocks and the concrete jungles that they live in.
This school was rated by Ofsted as outstanding. Toby wants to find out how the ethos of his school compares with theirs. 13-year-old Lorik has been nominated to take Toby on a tour of the school. First stop is the weekly reading session.
I've had a storyteller in the community for a long time.
Okay, thanks, Lorik. Yeah, do you want to carry on?
Giver, Jonas asked. The next afternoon, do you ever think about release? Do you mean my own release, or just a general topic of release?
Well, the purpose of it really is that every student across the school sits and reads with an adult, whoever that adult is, but the whole school is stopping reading, and a lot of it is just reading for the enjoyment of reading.
He wouldn't want his gentle friend to suffer the way he had, taking on the memories. What was she like? He asked the giver.
I was a bit disappointed by the choice of book. I suppose I would have preferred them to be reading Alice in Wonderland or Treasure Island, other than something which sounded like a kind of literal description of a video game. But that's probably just my snobbery.
I mean, that's what most students are interested in. So they're not interested in Alice in Wonderland. That was a period 2-3 years ago. So now we're interested in new technology.
Shouldn't one of the purposes of a school to be to tell children what they should be interested in? You may be interested in video games, but actually this classic of children's literature is something you should also be interested in.
That would not persuade the students to actually come and read. That would persuade them to go bunk off, not come to school on a Monday morning.
If you were essentially force-fed a diet of classic children's literature, even though you might initially find it quite hard going and think, what is the point of this? After a bit, you'd make a breakthrough.
You're forced to enjoy it, and then you have to go with it. Different people have different opinions. I mean, in my opinion, I don't think classical books will be no use right now. We need to learn about modern society, modern communities, what they have to offer right now.
Having failed to convince Lorik of the merits of Alice in Wonderland, Toby tries his ideas out on the teachers.
I think my worry, I guess, about many of the state schools in my area is that they do seem to be completely hidebound by this secular ideology. And there is
secular ideology.
Well, it's the ideology of the state.
So you're going to be an ideology-free zone. It's going to be an enclave because
isn't that what all schools should do? Shouldn't they foster genuine intellectual independence? I think it's largely unconscious. I think it's it's...
So we don't know we're doing it.
You don't know you're doing it.
So you're going to set up an ideologically, culturally neutral haven.
In Acton, there are 120 different languages spoken. And I was wondering what are you doing in your 250 parents? I'd be interested to know the makeup of that group, by the way. How are you engaging those parents? How are you engaging those where English isn't their first language? How are you making them feel that they have a voice in this new revolution of choice that you're offering them?
You're right. We haven't kind of gone about it by canvassing all the different sections of the local community and finding out exactly what kind of school they'd like. I guess we'll know, soon enough, because if it's not popular, the school won't survive for very long. But
it will survive because middle-class parents are going to inundate you with applications, Mr. Young. It will survive, but whether your ethos and your vision is representative of Acton is my biggest concern.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's an argument that Toby has heard many times, that his classical curriculum will not meet the needs of the wider community.
It kind of annoys me that they try and present me as someone who wants to neglect the interests of the most needy in the interests of a kind of middle-class minority. That's not what this proposal's about at all. And they haven't actually been such fantastic custodians of the interests of the least well-off. The least well-off have failed by, the state education system in this country. Largely failed by it. So, how much worse can I do?
Stung by the criticism of the Quintin Kynaston teachers, Toby is more determined than ever to show that his school will speak to all sectors of the population. They head to the nearby South Acton Council estate to explain their admissions policy. They run into their son's football coach, Huey.
Hi, Caroline.
Hi, Toby.
You're not a very popular person. That's not new, though.
But, there's a silent majority out there supporting me, but they just stay silent. I think one reason for the hostility towards free schools is people think they'll just be for middle-class people. They won't be for everybody.
Yes. Everybody's thinking, is the school going to be for whom? For the elitists, the rich? What about these guys on the estate?
What I hope we will have as our admissions policy is 25% will be admitted according to closeness to the school and 75% just admitted by lottery, so they can apply wherever they live and they'll have the same chance as anyone else.
And you think that's going to work?
Yeah. That's how charter schools do it in America. And they're very successful.
This in America. There's so much opposition against it, it's unbelievable.
Well, I think maybe I can bring them around. I think one thing
You couldn't.
No?
You couldn't, believe me.
Are they hardcore Labour?
We want a new secondary school, and it will be somewhere in Ealing. And it will certainly, I live just over there.
In here?
Yeah, just on the other side over there, and it will certainly include this area.
The battle for hearts and minds is going to be a tough one. And Toby has got other headaches. The group's next hurdle is to decide whether the parents should bring in an outside education provider to run the school. There's no shortage of willing business partners. That means meetings.
I think that's why private operators are coming into this area, because we know how to use the resources more efficiently.
Doesn't that mean that ultimately less money would be spent on the children in our school than if we operated it ourselves? Because after all, you'd have to take a profit out.
More meetings.
I think we do actually live our vision quite strongly about expecting the very best for every young person and challenging their goals. So,
And yet more meetings.
We hire and fire the management of the company, and of course that includes the principals. Our principals are not just principals, they are business managers.
There are a dismaying array of options, from charitable education providers to private profit-making companies.
we really need to think, what exactly are these companies adding? Are they really sort of saving on costs because they've got massive economies of scale? Have they got really revolutionary systems that our senior team wouldn't have experienced in the schools they're working in at the moment in any case? To what extent are these companies really changing the way our school's going to look? Or are we just sort of abdicating responsibility for making some of the decisions?
Toby is more confused than ever.
We hope today to actually narrow down the number of providers, and actually we've increased them by 2 and haven't eliminated anyone.
Toby's team may be agonising about the merits of bringing in an independent education provider to run their school, but members of the Anti-Academies Alliance have no doubts about it.
This is about fat cats, corporations trying to take over our schools.
Toby and his school are in the firing line.
He still has many practical hurdles to jump over before he gets what he wants. And we're confident that before he ever achieves his goal, he will have a very big fight on his hands. You know, we do think we have potential to certainly fire a number of shots across his bow, if not to actually scupper his whole enterprise.
You know, our difficulties will have only just begun. There'll be another mountain to climb, which will be all the local opposition we'll have to overcome, local and national. And I'm sure that it'll be, you know, it'll be dirty pool. It won't be a good, clean fight. It'll be nasty, dirty stuff.
You look like you might quite relish that, Toby.
Well, yeah, my attitude is that nothing worth doing in life is ever easy. If it's easy, that means it's probably not worth doing.
It's now July, and Toby's heard back from the Department for Education about his application. But it's not a simple yes or no.
I spoke to the official women. She said, well, I think the purpose of our initial meeting will just be for us to find out a little bit more about your proposal and the thinking behind it. And I'm like, if you want to find out more about our proposal and the thinking behind it, read one of the hundreds of articles I've written about it. Go to our website. You know, and of course they have to do kind of due diligence because they don't want to end up with a bunch of nutters starting a school and the policy kind of being humiliated. But he didn't seem to have grasped just how urgent it is that we need to really get cracking. In order to open a school by September 2011, we'll need a head in place, you know, later this year. In order for that to happen, we'll need to move to a preferred bidder. You know, we'll need to basically decide who our operating partner is going to be, and we can't do that until we know what the procurement rules are, and we can't do that until we can meet with a procurement official in the DFE, and if we can't do that until we've been approved by the DFE, it ain't going to happen in time.
Toby is in a bullish mood as he leads his team to their first government meeting. It's only afterwards that Caroline admits it very nearly didn't happen at all.
Toby was at the front desk for a very long time. We were all beginning to wonder what was going on. And there was a little muttering, a little aside from Toby, which only I could catch. I got the wrong day.
They were very good about it. He said, oh, I'm not doing anything. Let's see if we can find a meeting room. Have a meeting now.
Very accommodating.
Yeah. Well, I did sort of feel a bit embarrassed, having got everyone out of work and to come here. I thought, God, I'm going to have to do all this again tomorrow.
And particularly, as you know, a lot of this meeting is about them seeing if we're a serious group who are capable of setting up a school.
Of reading calendars. Yeah. Given that timetabling is quite a big issue in a school. Essentially, the formal purpose of the meeting was to probe a little into areas that we didn't go into enough detail about on our application form, which they'll need to do before they can then recommend to ministers that we are allowed to progress to the next stage.
But as they take stock of the day's events, the group has a new concern.
Not yet.
Perhaps their school will not be the flagship of the free school revolution as they'd hoped.
My worry is that we're stigmatised by being a middle-class group, and they won't want the first free school to be a middle-class group of parents that they're helping. And it's ironic, considering, you know, that the Prime Minister went to Eton and the Deputy Prime Minister went to Westminster. But precisely because of that, I think they'll probably be anxious not to seem to be helping a group of pushy middle-class parents.
Quite often it will be groups like ours setting up the school, but it won't be just people like us benefiting from the school. It will be the whole community.
Tonight, there's a note of bitterness among the team. But there's sweeter news around the corner. David Cameron, who Toby rubbed shoulders with at Oxford, has invited them and other members of the free school movement for drinks in the Rose Garden at number 10. Afterwards, they're in a buoyant mood.
Saying that we're on track, you know, it's happening, and it's, you know, and everybody's behind us, everybody matters. You can't get more of a backing, really, than the top person. It's saying to your face, pretty much, I want you to succeed and I want your school to happen, so...
It was really nice. It was the first sort of bit of something official, wasn't it? That it's not just the kind of notional school in our head.
Yeah, we're now part of a process.
Yeah.
Site. Yeah, that's the first thing David Cameron said to me was, have you got a site? What's happening with the site? So he knows, you know, exactly what the biggest obstacle is.
What did you say to him?
I said, yeah, we've got a site, but, and we've made an offer on it. It hasn't been accepted yet. He said, well, let me know if there's anything I can do to help. So.
But all is not well on the building front. There's a chilling silence from the Saudi embassy about Toby's dream site, the King Fahd Academy for Girls.
It's really essential that we nail down our site so we can open by September of next year, and which is why I'm having kittens at the moment. We need a site in place by the beginning of September, because if we haven't got one secure, we can't then start to admit students to the school.
But the thing is, we can't secure a head unless we've got a site.
Well, we can't secure a head without a funding agreement. We can't get a funding agreement without a site. I mean, everything hinges on the site. Once we've got the site, everything begins to cascade.
Having no site could derail their plans at the 11th hour. They're back to pacing abandoned warehouses and community centres to try and find a stopgap solution. They're even considering sharing space with a nursery.
This area is actually used by the cafe during the day up till 6 o'clock.
As a buggy park?
And as a play area, so it's available, but...
How many of these sized rooms does the centre currently have?
There's another room upstairs, an art room, and there's a media room, and that's probably the media room's a similar size to this, maybe smaller.
Even Toby can't summon up much enthusiasm for housing his school in a buggy park.
Any news from the Saudis?
No news from the Saudis, no.
How are you all feeling about this problem of the site?
Well, pretty anxious, because if we don't come up with a solution that we can sell to the DFE, we won't be able to open the school in September of next year.
A low mood is hanging over the group. Caroline sometimes wonders if it's all worth it.
I don't want to set up a school. It could have perfectly easy have just gone to a school. I want to have my entire life dominated by this. Toby wants to set up a school because Toby's very stubborn and doesn't like doing what he's told. There was only really one option for us. Therefore, he had no choice, which he didn't like. He kind of sort of dug his heels in about it.
Meanwhile, Toby's energy is boundless. The group has been refining the school's management strategy. They've recruited a number of senior teachers to their steering committee. With this expertise now on board, they've made a big decision.
We're no longer going to try and partner up with an experienced education provider. We're going to just try and do it all ourselves. The big risk of not going into partnership with an experienced provider is that it may mean that our application to set up the school isn't approved by the Department for Education, they might think, you know, what do these guys know about running a school? I'm not sure we can really entrust them with such a responsibility.
If the school is green-lit, Toby hopes to be chair of the school's Board of Governors.
Are you going to be a governor, Caroline?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
If Toby asks you?
If Toby allows me, yeah. If I pass the interview. There'll be a board of one.
It's now September 2010. Toby and his team have devised their school curriculum, drawn up an admissions policy, and identified their management strategy. If they're to open their school in September 2011, they need to get a green light from the Department for Education by the end of the month. But to do this, they must have a site.
The good news is, I think we found another building. It's not actually currently being used as a school, but it looks like a school. It's got great transportation links. It's more or less the right size, and the department think, you know, it's a runner. So it's all looking really good now.
And can you tell me where it is?
I can't tell you where it is. Our group's lawyer has advised me not to tell anyone where it is, partly because, you know, it's a bit premature, and we don't want to get, you know, people overexcited, but mainly because, you know, that would be a really valuable piece of intelligence to hand to our enemies. The moment they know where the new location is, they can start mobilising their forces to prevent us getting it. You know, agents have died withholding that information from the enemy, so I really prefer not to say at this stage, but it's looking really good.
This is Martha Carney with 30 minutes of news and comment. The Education Secretary, Michael Gove, has named the first 16 free schools in England, which are due to open in a year's time.
And the West London Free School is one of them.
There we go. Well done. It's been a tremendous amount of work for 9 months, and there's actually quite a lot to do, but it really vindicates the effort that we put in so far.
It's proof, it's vindication, if you like, of hard work and well-directed work against what appeared to be, on numerous occasions, insurmountable challenges. So I think it's extraordinary and good for us.
But it will be a while before champagne corks are popping in Acton. Toby's group still has to come up with a convincing business plan before the West London Free School is rubber-stamped for admissions.
Hello, state education for everyone.
And the opposition is not going to go quietly.
Say no to the state takeover of local education.
You can go online to read and respond to Toby Young's blog on free schools, and for more information on the areas explored, go to the website bbc.co.uk/school season.
School drama over on BBC One now, and a covert operation at Waterloo Road. Well, next here on BBC Two, we're cooking with MasterChef The Professionals.